Hi guys, in today's video we're gonna talk about Synology encryption, so how to encrypt using Synology. So we are going to, I'm going to talk to you about encryption quickly, how to encrypt using Synology and how it works, what is the key manager, how to recover a passphrase, and other tools that you can use for encryption. So encryption allows you to protect your files from unauthorized access by scrambling the data. So it's the process of converting plain text to ciphertext using the data, a key, and an algorithm. The key is a string of characters used within an encryption algorithm for altering the data. So you're going to choose one and it has to be strong. There are two main types of encryption: symmetrical, so the same key is used to encrypt and decrypt the data, and the asymmetrical encryption, which the data is encrypted using a public key and decrypted with the private key. So for example, when you have an HTTPS connection, the algorithm is the mathematical formula that will encrypt the data. So we have, for example, DES, 3DES, RC4, 6, Blowfish, AES, etc. So with Synology, it's going to be symmetrical encryption. So Synology will allow you to protect your data at rest by encrypting the data. So it will allow you to keep your data safe in case your disk or NAS gets stolen. You're gonna have better performance if your NAS has a hardware encryption module, so AES-NI. If you don't have it, it will be slower to encrypt. Encryption is based on encrypt file system, and it's going to use the AES 256 algorithm. And files can be recovered using a Linux system if if your disk crash or your system crash, you can recover the files. Now for the cons, it will only protect you against offline attacks. So if the NAS is on and the folder is in a decrypted state, well, then you've got no protection. If a hacker gets in and the folder is decrypted, he will access the data. So it's possible to exfiltrate data when you're using the Synology encryption anyway. Online file-based encryption and no volume encryption. Okay, so that means that unfortunately you're going to have some to encrypt files, but not an entire volume. The encryption key that you are going to use cannot be changed. So for example, if you need to change the key or the passphrase, you will need to create a new folder and put a new key, or you can decrypt the folder and re-encrypt it. Now, it's going to use a well-known wrapping passphrase or a key encryption key. I will talk about this later. And files can be recovered using a Linux system. This is also a cons because you can also easily recover your data in some cases. So a hacker or someone that steals your disk, for example, might be able to recover data in an easier way. There are also some other disadvantages, like it says down, if you lose the key, you will never be able to decrypt your data. The performance of the encrypted folder will be decreased. The encrypted folder will not be able via the NFS protocol, and you have some limitations with the file names. So how to encrypt? So that's very easy. You go to the shared folder, in the control panel, you create a new folder, you name it, and you check the encrypt this shared folder box, and you put your encryption key. So you enter your encryption key, which I'm going to call it here ME key. It's a media encryption key. This key will be used to encrypt each and individual files. It can't be changed afterwards, so you have to choose a very strong key, and you should choose a key that will be different, for every folder. Then if you want, you can add the key to the key manager. You can do it now or you can do it after. Now you can also enable data checksum. It will allow you to benefit of the self-healing feature of the BTRFS file system of Synology with when you are doing the data scrubbing. Now, when you have created your folder, Synology will ask you to download the key. It can be done also afterwards. You're not obliged to do it now. It will just ask you to enter the encryption key that you configured before. So the media encryption key, so the passphrase. So do it, better to do it now so you don't forget, and put it in a secure place. If you have a problem, like for example, you forgot the passphrase, you will be able to use this key file instead. Now this key file, it is an encrypted version of your media encryption key of the passphrase that you have put just before. This test4.key is not the passphrase, it's the encrypted passphrase. And it is encrypted using the well-known key encryption key, and the value is just below. If the media encryption key or passphrase that you have put before is known, we can decrypt the folder. If the key file is stolen, you can discover or recover the passphrase, and you can decrypt using the key file or the key. So I hope you understand, because there's a lot of keys and everywhere, but I hope you understand the difference. So the key file, it is the encrypted passphrase, and the key, so the media encryption key, this is the key that you entered before, the key that will be used to encrypt your files. Now for the decryption, okay, so the folders can be decrypted using either the passphrase or the encryption key, so the media encryption key, or it can be done also by using the downloaded key file that you downloaded before. And at this point, it is using the well-known key encryption key here. Okay, as I said to you, when you are going to download the key file, this key file is your encrypted passphrase with the value that you are seeing here. But when you are going to decrypt your folder using the key, this you have to ask yourself, but how is this possible? Because the key file is encrypted. But all these Synologies have the same value, so they encrypt or they decrypt the key file that you have downloaded with this value that never changes. So the pros of using the encryption this way. So it is extremely secure if you are going to use strong and different keys for each folders, and that you store your keys in a safely manner, like in a key pass, for example, with a strong password. The cons is using this configuration, you will need to enter your encryption key or your key file at every boot, because of course the NAS doesn't know your passphrase, it does not know your key. So it's difficult if you have like 20 folders or even 10 folders. You cannot put your passphrase, your strong passphrase every time when you boot. It's a lot of work, and it's virtually impossible if you have too many folders or keys that are way too strong. So you've got a solution here, which is to use the key manager feature of Synology. So the key manager is a key store that will allow a one-click decryption process. It will also allow you to auto-decrypt on boot, which I would not recommend. It stores all of your keys, and they will be encrypted in this key store using a unique machine key or master passphrase. So this you choose for every key of every folder if you would like in your key store that they will be encrypted using the machine key or the master passphrase. So the master passphrase, which means that you have only one passphrase to be able to access and decrypt all the key files that are in the key store. You can also import and export all the keys to and from the key manager. So the key manager has to be initialized first. You go to Action and Key Manager. It will ask you for a location of the key store, either in the system partition or on a USB key, for example. It will ask you anyway for a master passphrase. Keep it very, 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 very strong and try to remember it either in your head or in a key pass, for example. And the key manager password will be asked every time you are going to access the key manager. The key manager master passphrase is compromised. All the keys will be compromised, but this master passphrase, it is also important to say that you can change it. It's not the same thing that with the folders on the NAS you cannot change once it's encrypted. So you can put it in the system partition or the USB storage. So the key store can be on your system partition, which I would not recommend because the keys are in the same place than your data. And for the USB drive, well, it should be, it's recommended because, it's not in the same storage device. But anyway, don't keep your USB drive plugged in and just really keep it safe, like in a vault or I don't know where, but don't leave it plugged in, because if someone steals your NAS with the key manager, the USB key inside, he will just need to brute force the key manager passphrase, master passphrase, and he will be able to recover all the keys. So just don't leave it plugged in. Now, keys encrypted in the key manager with the machine key can't be decrypted by another NAS, so don't rely solely on your key manager. Store the original key files elsewhere, and you can have those original key files, when it asks you to download the key file when you encrypt a folder, for example. So there is a little tab here, I forgot how to say it in English. Anyway, here you have a list of the difference between the system and the USB system. Okay, so for if the key is the key and data separated, no for system, yes for USB. What kind of cipher that is going to be used to encrypt your keys in the key manager? So it's going to be the machine key for the system, and it can be the passphrase or machine key with the USB. Can you mount on boot? If you use the system key manager, yes. If you use a USB, you have to select the machine key cipher. And is the passphrase needed for the system? No, but to access the key manager on the USB, yes. So that's why the passphrase is not needed if the key manager is in the system. That's very bad in terms of security if you dispose your drive incorrectly or if your NAS and drive gets stolen. So the security implication of having a system, the key manager in your system partition, well, there are no passphrase, and the data and keys are in the same system and can be recovered if the NAS or disk are stolen. Also think about your hard disk disposal. So if you take a drive off, don't think that you can just throw it in the bin because the keys are inside. So you have to be careful with that. And the security implications of using the key manager on a USB drive. It's very important to know that the USB disk should be disconnected after use to avoid theft of the USB key, theft of the USB disk content, to avoid probably that maybe this disk could be encrypted with a ransomware. So it's not a doc extension or PDF extension, so maybe it will not be encrypted. And also if this gets compromised, so you avoid the master passphrase brute force, otherwise you will be able to access all your keys. Now for the key manager, you can, while creating a folder, you can choose, so you enter your encryption key, and then you can add the encryption key to the key manager. So you have to enter the passphrase of the key manager if it is a USB key. In my case, it's a USB key, so I have to enter the key manager passphrase. And I'm going to choose if it's a passphrase cipher or machine key cipher to encrypt the key in the key store. So I usually do passphrase. Now, if you have a folder that is already created and encrypted, so once the key manager is initialized, you can import the keys of all shared folders, like you can see now. The shared folder list will appear. Here I only have test4. I can use the choose the cipher if it's the machine key or the passphrase. You can choose the cipher to be used, I've said that, and you can enter the folder encryption key or key file. Okay, so the encryption key, if you remember, it's the passphrase that you have entered to encrypt your file, your folder, and you can import the encryption key that you have downloaded before if you don't remember for example, if you don't remember the passphrase. Now you can also, with the key manager, you can export all the keys from the key manager to your PC, and those key files will be encrypted with the well-known key encryption key that you have seen before. Now the key manager will allow you to have a one-click decryption process. So you go to your key manager, you enter its passphrase, you select all the folders you want to decrypt, and you click on mount. So you see now with just one master passphrase, you are able to mount and decrypt all your encrypted folders in only one click. Now for the passphrase or media encryption key recovery. So the passphrase can be recovered using a Linux system like Ubuntu, for example. You have to download the encrypt file system package. You have to know the well-known key encryption key, and you have to use the downloaded key file that you got from, when you created your folder. If the folder is already created, you can export it after, or you can export it from the key manager. So if you have the key file, you can find the passphrase that was used. Okay, so it can also be used to recover data after a system crash. I don't know the exact command lines, but here in this example, by using the well-known key, I was able to recover my passphrase here, which was 8 times 0 for the example. Now, other best practices, you have to stay coherent with your encryption strategy. That means that if you are encrypting shared folders, you should also encrypt your Mac using FileVault. You should encrypt your Windows using Bitlocker. Keep in mind also that there is a Windows bug with WebDAV, where downloaded files are staying in a cache that is accessible with an administrator account. So here you have the path to the WebDAV cache, and you can see here that I have 2 text documents that I have done, for a little test. As you can see, it just stays here. It's not deleted, so people can recover your files. Now, I think this is the last slide. If you're afraid that a hacker or administrator looks at your files, steal your files, there is other tools that you can use in addition of the Synology encryption system. You can use third-party tools to encrypt files from your phone and PC to your NAS. Those two tools that I have tested are Cryptomator and Boxcryptor. The files will be encrypted at rest on the NAS and in transit while you are downloading them. It will only be decrypted on your device when you are requesting the file. So no one actually can eavesdrop your data. If you mix this, with HTTPS connection, for example, well, it's going to be very hard to decrypt your file. It's compatible with DS Cloud and DS Drive on your computer because it's going to create some kind of a network drive, some kind of a local network drive. It depends on the tool that you're going to use. It's going to sync with the NAS in a file-based way. So if you modify only one file, only this file will be uploaded to your NAS. It's not like a big image, and every time you make a change, it's the complete encrypted image or volume that is being sent again to the NAS. Okay, so this is extremely easy, in terms of bandwidth, and it's very practical. It's compatible using smartphones, but you have to do WebDAV. So you have to configure your NAS to use WebDAV if you would like your phones to access your encrypted files with Cryptomator and Boxcryptor. Now, depending on the software that you're going to use, you might lose single file recovery. So probably you will not be able to recover a file using snapshots, using hyper backup, using file versioning, for example. The worst case scenario, you will have to restore the entire encrypted folder. You cannot use the sharing features of the NAS anymore. And you cannot have a complete sync features with smartphones. Okay, so with those apps, if you want a file, you need to have internet access, and then you can download them. I think that you can keep them also locally on your phone in the application, but it's not a complete synchronization like DS Cloud. So this is to keep in mind. Well, that's the end of the presentation. I hope this video has been informative for you. And if you like it, just hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe if you would like more. Bye-bye.